mindful of the time, I want to just hit the highlights of some work in progress moments and whatnot from today, even. The Foundations Q&A hour-long session we did just before this one has so much gold in it for you to understand the relationship between 3-minute and 30-minute chart trading and connecting that to your purpose. You just can't believe it. Everything just sort of came to that moment. So that hour is astonishingly good. And it has more on the MACD and some good, I think, some good psychology on the idea of, one of the questions was, hey, what do we do with the COTA 2 entry if we're late on the first entry? And the next 2 or 3 minutes of the answer of that were absolutely essential for understanding why you have to get to the zero state and complete emotional release of the previous event before you can even begin to think about trading forward. If you're thinking in your mind, how do I get into this trade knowing that I missed the other one and that I'm late? You got so much emotional pressure on that decision that you haven't left the other one behind. You got to empty your bowl. Because how many other trades are you still carrying emotional baggage on into the decision of, hey, the only thing I got to do is time, will, pattern, and money. Do I have a pattern that's 2-to-1? Is there enough time left to trade it? Do I have the money in the account to trade it? Do I have the willpower to be in the zero state to trade it? If that answer is no, then you don't enter. That's how you get in. You don't get in if you're thinking that you're late. Only when you can look at that thing objectively as its own block of wood, ready to be carved. Doesn't owe anybody anything. Nobody owes it anything. It's just a block of wood ready to carve. When you're ready to carve, then you might begin carving a bowl. The block of wood is ready to carve, but you may not be ready to start carving. So if you're not ready, don't carve. Otherwise you cut your finger off or waste wood. We're not going to do that. So I thought that was even more important than the 3 and the 30-minute discussion, but then that was also really, really good. Shunlong, remember that you cannot be looking at profit and loss as the determinant of how you're doing when you're trading one share live or $5, because the cost of commission is all out of proportion to what it's going to be when you're trading at limited rate production and full rate production. You are engaged in a pilot program of forward trading with small amounts, and you discount the cost of commission completely. You are only looking at R capture, dollars or pennies per share per transaction. If that works, then you will scale that to a level where commissions are irrelevant. Simply the cost of paying your taxes or having a business license. So separate those in your mind for what it is that you're doing. I also want you to look at what's the positive reward for you to trade when you shouldn't be trading. Why is that such a powerful positive reinforcement for you in your life? There's something that's helping you with. What is the thing that is helping you with, so we can see what that thing is? What is the goal that trading when you shouldn't be trading is in support of? So let's find out what that thing is and put that on the table. And also, while you're there, what is the positive reward for trading in the opposite direction of your trading plan? You're supposed to go this way, you decide to go that way. There is a positive reward for doing that is satisfying something, some other project, that we want to just know what are the details of that and why is that so important, and are there other ways that we can satisfy that project and not inside trading. So where else in your life is that happening? What to do with all the information? Start cutting it away. Less is more. The less information I have, the better decisions I can make if the information I am selecting is important information. So you got to cut away the stuff that does. If it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter at all. What if you're the one that's naked, Ernie? I'll tell you another time a story of taking a handful of magic mushrooms and then asking the universe, all right, come at me, bro. Who's out there and what do you got to say? Because this is who I am. And I was surrounded by a ripple in the space-time visual display in which all I could see were an infinite number of eyeballs looking at me in every possible way, and hearing the murmuring of an infinite number of voices whispering what they were seeing and all that other shit. And I just felt in a strong position and said, let's go. I can deal with anything that you see or say from this point. So just come out. If you got something to say, step up. If you don't, shut up. Let's go. That was a formative moment. It lasted over 18 hours. It was not the only event that occurred in that 18 hours, but it was one of them. And it was pretty memorable. So you're naked. So what? I just posted a essay on we are not the descendants of fearful men, and all of the context that came from that 1954 statement when Edwin R. Murrow finally had had enough of Senator McCarthy and told him to shut up, go home. And he told the American public, we are not the descendants of fearful men. So that essay goes into what that was like. That was a turning point in American politics, and it connected to something foundational in who we are as a people, as a culture, and as a species. It is existentially true. So where do you find the courage? You already got it. Get out of your own way. Reasonable expectations and persistence and the connection to a community of practice, Ken, is when a hockey player says trading is hard, you can bet that it's hard, because there is nothing harder than hockey except wrestling, and it's pretty close. In wrestling, it's 7 minutes, and hockey, your shift is a minute. But in hockey, you're on a sheet of ice with razor blades on your feet, and guys have war clubs in the other hand, and they're probably drunk. So I would encourage you guys to take a look at that. So, yeah, just amazing work again. Jeff, keep doing the due diligence and the application, seeing it all the way through to the end. And I would just close by saying, you start with a really good research question, which came from a problem area where your intuition says there's a problem or an opportunity in here somewhere. You turn that into an actionable research question that can be answered with the proper method, due diligence, data gathering, analysis according to the right model, and then to draw a conclusion that's justified by evidence. So what? You've now converged on, you did divergent thinking, you converged, and now you got your answer. So what? Now, what's the next thing to do? That's the hard work. The easy work is the research. The easy work was finding the question. The hard work is, okay, you got a question answered. You have the best answer we can get according to that method. Now what are you going to do? So you got to figure out what to do next. And then you got to prepare to do that. And when you are ready and you are prepared to work, you got to be able to say, I'm ready to work, period. What's that work look like? Okay, figure it out. I am ready to work, period. Let's go. That's the courageous act of the next step. And in a dynamic world, that's the start of the flywheel, or adding to the flywheel. And I will always remember this day, Kyun, as the day you discovered the owl. I have been saying for approximately 20 years the most important single thing is the regression line 30 and its slope. If I could only trade one thing, I would trade the slope of the RL30 of the S&P. That's why it is central to my understanding of the market condition. It itself is the single most important thing. And it's the last and final criteria for the owl pattern. All the other things had to happen. The SSC had to happen. The regression line crossover had to happen. The dragon had to turn, which is the 10, simple moving average, and now the RL30. When you look at a simple moving average 10 and compare it to an RL30, you'll realize that they're pretty close, but the RL30 is the last one to go. The RL10 will go a little quicker, usually, and the RL30 is the final piece, and then you're in. So somewhere between the RL10 has crossed the dragon, not earlier than that you enter, not later than the RL30 has turned. Only the young mountain climbers are playing the 1, 2, 3. And the only time I do a 1, 2, 3 is if by inspection I can see all those other criteria have hit, and then it's a special case. It takes an enormous move down and then an enormous move up to justify the WMB3. So it's either the SSC or it is the owl. And then everything after that is all the Kata 2s till it climbs to heavenly glory. And then the further it's sold off, the more Kata 2s there are on the way up. After the internet bubble blew up and after COVID blew up, after moves of that magnitude, there was 18 months worth of Kata 2s until it got back to something like fair value. That's why the Kata 2 is important. But that's also why the SSC is important, because it marks off the beginning of the discussion. Is this the moment that it turned? Well, it might. But it has to start with an SSC. Nobody lives through a bear market and then it goes into a sideways quiet channel for 2 years and then slowly. No, there's always somebody ready to say, I think that was an overreaction. I'm ready to go. And the other guy said, no, it isn't. We're going to fight. That's why it's always contentious at those turning points. But the Kata 2 is the sanity for long-term reentry with the minimal information set. That's all you need. To me, the limited indicators I have on the sniper is all you need. Thin price, RL10 and 30, Dragon and PSAR. That's all. Nothing else. And your wrist box, you got to know that. You got to know the size of your range size. So now I know what my dimensions are. But those are the only ones I need for decision. Anyway, I got to hustle over to the soccer field and set it up. We're practicing in 30 minutes. Great work. And this will be posted shortly.